Hi, welcome. I've just putting up a few things that I think you might find interesting onto our website. Today I'm going to ask you to do something really big. I'm going to ask you to think about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. In the face of the pandemic that threatens to transform life as we know it, I'm going to ask you to think about the meaning of life and what are the most important things for us. I'm going to do it by beginning with a little bit of my story. I know exactly where I was at 10:30 p.m. on March the 29th in 1978. That was exactly 42 years ago today. And 42 is a very important number. I was in my bed, under the covers, with an illicit transistor radio pressed to my ear. My parents thought I was asleep. I was only 15. But at the time, I was transported to an alien landscape through the delights of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In that episode, 42 years ago, the key character, an Earthling called Arthur Dent, was listening to a recording of the commissioning of a supercomputer called Deep Thought that was set to calculate the answer to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. In the story, Deep Thought was the greatest supercomputer of all time, except the supercomputer that Deep Thought would design itself. But even so, it took millions of years to find the answer. But eventually, it found it. The answer was simple, it was complete, and so amidst a great fanfare, Deep Thought announced to the world that the answer to life, the universe, and everything was 42. Now, since then, 42 has become a legendary number, and over the last 42 years, the Hitchhiker's Guide has become just part of our culture. This radio series shaped so much of the life we live in. The book in the story is a kind of Wikipedia. The book, The Hitchhiker's Guide, predicted the rise of monopoly tech companies. They had the Sirius Cyberetics Corporation, a kind of Microsoft. They had mammoth digital publishing houses, the Megadodo Corporation, which was a bit like one of those Silicon Valley giants where the employees were too cool to listen to ordinary people. If you listen to it now, it is remarkable. If anything, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is more relevant today than it was then. 42 years ago, I thought I was the only person who was listening to that radio show. It was me on my own. It was an obscure radio show at an obscure time. No one else in my school, I was 15, had ever even heard about it. They didn't know about the destruction of Earth and the adventures of Arthur Dent and his companions. And Arthur Dent was the picture of someone who was on his own. At the time, I was absolutely alone, totally captivated. If you listen to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the jokes are funny, the characters are live, and no radio programme has ever utilised the medium so impressively. It introduced frontiers where men were real men, women were real women, and small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri were real small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri. A character called Zaphod Beeblebrox could have 2 heads and 3 arms, and on radio it made sense. It has never made sense on screen. But more than this, so much more. The Hitchhiker's Guide returned again to life and its meaning. For me, it was formative in my own search. Perhaps you are searching for meaning in a very confusing world. What is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? Well, you could start with the Hitchhiker's Guide. Now, here's a warning. The writer, Douglas Adams, was a radical atheist, and Richard Dawkins described him as his only convert. You might not think he would be an inspiration for a Church of England vicar, but he was to me, because he asked fantastic questions. In the story, Deep Thought knows that 42 as an answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe and everything is meaningless. He attributes this to the vagueness of the question. The answer is simple, it's neat, but the important thing is the question itself. What are we asking? What is the right question? And that is what needs a greater supercomputer. For Adams, life does not have meaning. It's pointless. However, the Hitchhiker's Guide poses a different set of questions on probability and improbability. In almost every episode, the key characters are just about to die, only to be saved by some outlandishly impossible event. And it's improbability that drives the whole story. In fact, improbability is the very thing that drives the spaceship that they travel about in. It seems to me that what keeps them going in the face of destruction is hope. It's a sense of hope that at that time I began to explore. I was not asking if God existed. It wasn't particularly an interesting question. I was asking, as a lonely, afraid 15-year-old boy, if anyone cared about me. The Bible does not answer the question as if God exists. It's not a question that occurs to the biblical writers. They know God exists. The question the Bible returns to again and again is there hope? The Hebrew scriptures emphasize that God is the one who built a nation on a childless couple, led that nation out of slavery in Egypt, and promised to restore that nation to full life after it had been destroyed and sent into exile. The New Testament, the Son of God plumbs the depth of human despair and physical pain and then comes back to life. It is resurrection that is the promise of salvation. However bad things are, God is with us and will save us. Yeah, things are really bad at the moment. People are struggling for breath and many are dying. Hospitals are full. People are afraid. For some, the chance to isolate is a chance to refresh and to spend more time with their family, and actually lots of great things are going on. For others, it means being incarcerated with a violent partner. It means facing our own anxieties and mental health issues. Things are bleak. I dispute anyone who thinks this is God's plan. It's not the plan of a God of love. We are in a time where we can have faith in God. we can have hope. Having faith in God is to trust in his promises of resurrection and reconciliation, even in the bleakest of circumstances. It's placing trust in him as we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Psalm 23, which I hope many of us are praying day by day. It is to walk amongst the dry bones of Ezekiel 37. It is to be with Jesus in Gethsemane and to plead like he did for God to take away the suffering in front of us. And then to discover strength to go on, because we hope for new life on the other side. It is the resurrection of Jesus that for me gives meaning to life. Without resurrection, I may as well eat and drink, for tomorrow I will die. With Jesus, I have hope. Hope means life has meaning. We have purpose. Hope means that I have the energy to do something. Hope inspires me to love God through loving my neighbour. Your life has meaning if it's about loving God and loving all people. Hope means we give up our lives for people we don't know, as well as people we do. Giving up our lives can mean giving up money, time, and emotional energy for causes that don't directly affect us. We work for peace, justice, and reconciliation, and don't just think of our own comfort. For many, it means they put their actual lives at risk. So here is the irony. Douglas Adams, the radical atheist, led me to faith in Christ. His fantastic comic fiction engaged my brain and my heart. Whenever I listen to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I am still that 15-year-old lapping up every moment. The answer to life, the universe, and everything may well be 42. Who knows? But the meaning of life, that I found in the hope set before us by Jesus Christ. Now, if you've got access to BBC Sounds, you can listen to the whole of the first series of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's 42 years old. They're running a celebration of it. For me, I'm going to be posting up some further reflections on hope over this coming week. I pray that you will join me on a journey of hope. Thank you.